Let the record show that the regular Riverview City Council meeting was called to order at 7 p.m. on November 21st, 2020. Will the clerk please take roll?
Councilmember Blanchett. Here. Councilmember Ganaga.
Here.
Councilmember Norton.
Here.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Here.
Councilmember Robbins.
Here.
Mayor Swift.
Here.
Councilmember Workman.
Here. Tonight we have the Pledge of Allegiance, Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Blanchett and the invocation by Councilmember Workman. Will you please rise?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Precious Lord, we thank you for our many blessings, and we ask that you might bless our elected officials in their decision-making matters for the best of our community. Amen.
Amen. Okay, Jeff, you have any announcements?
Yes, Your Honor, I do have one announcement. The Riverview Highlands Black Friday golf outing on November 25th is completely sold out again this year. So just kudos to Mike Kettler and his golf team for getting that event up and going and filled up again this year.
Thank you. Is that it?
That's all I have, Your Honor.
That might be for you, but I got several pages here. Unfortunately, I think the announcements are going to be longer tonight than the meeting. A lot has happened since our last council meeting, but I do want, it's like, well, my first note here says it's been a wild and emotional week, and that's putting it mildly. But I do first want to apologize to councilpersons Norton, Ganaga, and O'Neill for showing up for the tree lighting ceremony. And with the weather being what it was, half of my brain cells were frozen. And I just failed to mention you guys, but we appreciate you coming and showing support. So thank you guys for doing that. I will also like to congratulate our Recreation Director, Todd Dickman, and his staff for a great job they did, excuse me, with putting that whole thing together. I know they start sometime in early October, maybe late September, putting those lights out. The park looked beautiful. It was very cold and windy, but I believe all those who braved the elements had a great time this year. It was a lot of fun. Also, congratulations to our DPW Director, Jeff Webb, and his hard-working crew that made Young Patriots Park and all the city buildings look great for the holiday season. A few comments I receive regularly on the tree lighting ceremony itself. The addition of the snow globe bouncy house was a big hit. It gave a place for the kids to play who didn't want to turn into popsicles inside the tent where it was a little bit warmer. And then also the parents appreciated the coffee stand. I think of all the things going on there was one of the most popular. I did receive some positive feedback on the arrival of Santa and Mrs. Claus by helicopter. Also, some people expressed disappointment that unfortunately because of the weather and the snow, the helicopter, they had to leave early, but not before bringing Santa and Mrs. Claus in, so that was great. My family had a great time, and I personally had received dozens of compliments on the whole event. That brings us to our annual business expo at the community center during the tree lighting. I believe we had about 15 businesses there showing off their wares and at least one civic group. And so all these, excuse me, I think all the businesses had a really good turnout. I was in there a few times and talked to several of the businesses, and they're Riverview specific businesses, so congratulations to all of them. And this is the hard part, and I'm sorry if we get choked up a little bit, but what can I say about the Mayor's Gala? I was and still am much humbled at the turnout. It was a sold-out event, well, sold out a few days before the event took place. There were 200 tickets sold, and nearly all those were purchased, those people actually showed up. Attendees were greeted with some very cold temperatures, even inside the tent, but I think that's what made the whole experience very unique. And that's what most people, I think, will remember for a very long time. But the tent was beautifully decorated, the food was good, the band was great, and getting to meet so many of my supporters was just absolutely mind-blowing to me. And I want to thank Todd for suggesting to put on that event. Also, a big thanks goes to our interim city manager for helping getting sponsors. Without those sponsors, this event never would have happened. And a heartfelt thanks to all those who attended. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. The food, I did that part already. We've received some suggestions to improve next year's. One thing is standing in the way, though, for next year's event to happen. Somebody's got to get reelected mayor before that happens, so we'll see. I'd also like to take a second or two to thank all the sponsors of the Mayor's Gala and actually the tree lighting ceremony. There was a combo type sponsor event. Our premier sponsor this year was Signature Services, a brand new business to the city of Riverview. The fireworks sponsor was Rivergate Terrace and Rivergate Health Center. Actually, I did get a couple complaints about the fireworks show. It was too long and people were freezing and they wanted to hurry up and get to the finale. We also had a tree sponsor this year, Safe Spot Storage, was very nice. The Kiwanis Club of Riverview sponsored Santa Claus. The event sponsor was Industrial Wood Fab Packaging and Company, and Charles and Kathleen Scoopin, thank you to them. We had several table sponsors, Al's Asphalt Paving Company, American Legion Post 389, Carlisle Wortman, Charles E. Raines Company, Government Consultant Support, Pentock, Covier, and Kublak, thank you, Randy. Southgate Rotary, and hopefully next year there will also be a Riverview Rotary, Tetra Tech, and the THED Group. Thank you all them for their participation. That's the first page. And now for one thing on the good news. Congratulations to the Riverview High School varsity football team on their outstanding undefeated season this year. They made it all the way to the state finals. You've made our city proud, and congratulations to them and the Riverview Community School District. That was really great. And I'll say now for the not so good news. Wayne County FIC meeting turned down our request for the landfill expansion last Monday. Obviously very disappointing to the city of Riverview. The FIC committee gave us a few items to get accomplished, and they gave us 18 months to get those 4 items accomplished. We got 3 of them done, 3 or 4, however, and there's an argument of how many there were, so I won't get into that. One big hurdle that we were just unable to get around was moving the entrance of the landfill to Allen Road in the Brownstown Township. Personally, I thought that request right out of the gate from the FIC committee to move the entrance was unreasonable, and they knew it was unattainable. But I'm really proud of our team for working as hard as we did to make that happen. We met with the city or the township of Brownstown several times, their supervisor and city manager, and basically we knew that it wasn't going to happen, but we gave it our best shot, and that's just reality. We will move forward with a combination of, now this is just my opinion because council hasn't met yet to get all the direction set, but it'll certainly be a combination of tax increases, possible cuts, and cuts in services along with pursuing new revenue sources. And we have one item later on tonight where it could be a potential revenue source. So what does that mean to the city of Riverview? Well, in my opinion, it means no moving the entrance to Allen Road. That's just not going to happen. The entrance isn't going to move to Allen Road. It's not going to move to Sibley Road. It's staying right where it is. There is no improving the King and Grange intersection, which we offered up to $2 million to improve that intersection to help make traveling through that a little easier, a little safer, but that's not going to happen. No implementing the already curbside recycling or addition of the second drop-off site. That can't happen. All that was predicated on getting the expansion. So those things, along with some other things that the city manager, an interim city manager, is going to work up a plan, give council options. We do have some time, but it's going to be a combination of several different items. And that's the end of the not so good news. Couple good news things. I don't know if the camera can pull in on this. This is the this year's version of the Riverview Raspberry. It will be on sale the weekend of December 2nd and 3rd. It's put out by the Riverview Goodfellows, obviously a civic group that provides No Child Without a Christmas. And they provide food, I think, for several families and seniors during the holiday season. So watch for that the weekend of December 2nd and 3rd. Any donation you want to give for that would be greatly appreciated. And now more on a personal note, the City of Riverview will be accepting letters to Santa until Wednesday, December 15th. Letters can be dropped off, and I hope the Santa mailbox is in the lobby. I don't know if it's there yet, but it should be soon. It was at the tree lighting ceremony, so kids were invited to drop off their letters there. So please drop them off at the lobby at City Hall here. And to ensure response by Christmas, please get your letters in early. It's a lot of running around and people out late at night when we don't get your letters to the 23rd, but just makes it a little bit easier for the letters to get out. Have your child address the envelope to Mr. Santa Claus, Elf Road, North Pole 88888. Myself and my wife Darlene have agreed to make sure that all these letters get forwarded to Santa in time for a reply to Christmas. This is open to all Riverview children and those attending the Riverview Community School District. Have your children express their wishes for the upcoming holiday. And I probably should have said this first, that this will be a letter writing campaign where Santa actually will respond in his own handwriting to each child's letter specific to their request that they have in there. So I do ask parents, make sure to include the child's name, age, and address, and the school that they attend, so they can receive that handwritten note from Santa himself. For those who participate, there will be 2 winners will be drawn from all letters received and put into a drawing for a $50 gift card from Serendipity or Riverview Nutrition. And my wife and I, and on behalf of the entire City Council, we want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and a safe and happy New Year. And I think that's it for the announcements. All right, next, some really good news. Present certificate of recognition to Police Officer Travis Jackson for completing his 1-year probationary period. Chief, you want to come on up? Come on up, Travis. Testing. Hello? All right.
Thanks, Mayor. For those who don't know, this is Officer Travis Jackson. He started in November 15th of last year and completed his 1-year probation. We couldn't be prouder of him. We enjoy having him here at work. Thank you for your dedication, your family sacrifice. And on behalf of the City of Riverview, I want to present you with your certificate.
Do you guys want to come up? So 3 things that kind of helped make this happen today. Working for a great city, working for a great police department, and having a great support system right there. That's my wife, 2 children, and my mother-in-law. They've been a big part of why I've been able to complete this. So looking forward to 24 more, maybe plus that. We'll see. So just want to thank everybody that came out today and thank the council. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your support.
Okay, with that, we have approved the minutes of the 11/7/22 regular Riverview City Council meeting and the condensed version for publication. What's council's pleasure?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Norton, supported by Councilwoman Ganaga. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Ganaga.
Yes.
Councilmember Norton.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Yes.
Councilmember Robbins.
Yes.
Mayor Swift.
Yes.
Councilmember Workman.
Yes.
Councilmember Blanchett.
Yes.
We have no public hearings tonight. Now is the time for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the mayor and council, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. Try to keep your comments to 5 minutes. There is no sharing of time and no rebuttals. And please keep your comments respectful. Anyone wishing to address the mayor and council at this time?
I'll be quick. Brian Webb, 20271 Maplewood. Just want to remind council and all the members of the public that the Riverview Community Neighborhood Watch will be meeting next Wednesday, the 30th, 6 p.m. here at the community center, where we'll talk with the chief and talk over recent crimes, your concerns, and also plan our annual Christmas pizza party and Christmas caroling. So it's 6 p.m. over at the Senior Activity Center next Wednesday. Thank you.
And I have your wreath in my office, and get it after the meeting.
Didn't realize that.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Pete Petoskey. I live in Southgate. I'm here to sing the praises of your golf facility. I've been a golfer for over 65 years. Never joined a golf club or anything like that. I did this year. I signed up for a yearly membership at your golf course. I'm telling you folks, you guys got a great operation over there. Early on this year, my wife and I spend the winter in Florida. We go down there in January, come back in May. That's when I joined. The course is in beautiful shape. The greens, the fairways was great. Even as you progress during the summer, with the drought, the thing was still being kept up very well by your maintenance staff. I stopped in to see Mike Kettler, I think it is, the guy who runs the place. Very nice guy. I'm going to say a little more about that in a minute. But from the standpoint of practice and getting out there, it's just wonderful to go out there for a couple of hours in the evening, hit a few golf balls, maybe play 3 or 4 or 5 holes of golf. I can't play 18 holes anymore. I'm too old. I can't do that. Back doesn't hold up. Hips don't hold up. Now, that's the golf facility. But probably more important than that are the folks that you've hired at that place. I have never been treated in my life in golf, and I worked for the PGA of America for 9 years down in Florida. Those guys over there are just so nice, right from the fellows at the and ladies at the cash register when they take your money, right through the folks in the cart barn, out to the starters. Just everyone is so nice, so polite, so customer focused. It's got to be some great leadership you guys got going over there. My congratulations to you. Everybody always would stick out their hand. I met Jeff over there one day. I think I was talking to your greenskeeper or something, talking to him about the conditioning of the course. Your city manager stopped, stuck his hand out, introduced himself to me, and we had a nice conversation. That's the kind of stuff that you just, it doesn't come naturally. It's got to come from the leadership at that place. Right from, was it Todd Dickman as your recreation director? People will maybe remember what you say. They might remember what you do, but people will always remember how you made them feel. And every time I go over there, I feel welcome. I know if any of you are golfers, you've gone to golf courses where the staff makes you feel like they're doing you a favor to take your money. Over there at your place, there's kindness, there is customer focused. It's a great job, and I wanted to let you guys know that. Well done. Thank you.
Don't go away. Mr. Podolsky, is that what your name was?
Task, like the city up north.
Okay, and to make sure that you can do 18 holes the next time, we're not used to this. Like, the golf cart's on me, so make sure next time he goes, I'll get the cart on me. Thank you, sir.
Oh, and by the way, I talked one time, and we talked about the facility, and somebody said, oh, we're going to improve the cart paths. And I thought, yeah, okay, it might happen. 3-4 weeks later, half of those cart paths had new asphalt on them. You're not driving down those things and rocking your kidneys out. It probably encourages people to stay on the cart path rather than ride on the turf, which damages the turf. So all the way around, very, very good.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
I think the DPW made this the best job you could possibly ask in the city.
Yes, sir, thank you.
If they had a contest for most decorated municipal areas and parks, Riverview would win it going away.
Can you identify yourself first, just for the record?
Pardon me?
Can you identify yourself for the record?
Oh, Randy Upton, I live on Mulberry Street. So, my kids love it, my grandkids love it, and all the hullabaloo that happened over the weekend in the big tent and outside the big tent, it was all great, and I felt proud of the city and the job that people did that were involved in that big operation. Now, my reason for standing here tonight is to ask the city of Riverview, how are they going to make some tax dollars? Okay, we have 8 years on the landfill operation, so we have 8 years to once. I would like to see the city identify all the vacant property in the city. I'm talking about the east side. I want to know who owns the old Firestone place. I want to know Atco Chem or Wyandotte Chemicals, what was their property? Everybody who owns land over there is just sitting on it, not doing a thing. And I did some research in the EPA, and companies that pollute their property have to clean their property up, even if they don't get rid of the property. So I think we should hire a company to go over and test all the properties over there to see how are they polluted, get an idea on what it would take to clean it up, and start trying to reacquire that property and turn the land into commercial or residential property. I think right there, that is the most important thing for this city going forward in the future. We cannot afford to have non-productive land of that amount in a city of this size. It's totally ridiculous not to be doing something, and I'm sure once we get everybody's head in this ballgame and knowing we got 8 years to figure it out and steer the city to a location where when you say Riverview, there's actually a place where you can view the river. We need to get that done. We have a golf course that turns over, according to your figures, $70,000, $80,000 a year profit. To me, that's not a lot of money for that much land. And comments like what I read, well, the taxable value of houses that we could put in there, if we put 100 houses in there, the taxable value would be $70,000. That's ridiculous. It was not going to be $70,000 because what would they do on that land is build homes like you see in Trenton on Harrison near Grange, where there was a school that they tore down, and now they have about 30 houses in there, and you drive by there, and those houses are $350,000 and up. So there's not any taxable value for that type of house, of what the money that would come in Riverview. So there is ways to do things. I'm not saying, I've said before, it's time to shut down the golf course and keep the 9, which is in the floodplain. But I thought, well, maybe they could shut down 9 holes that would still leave us an 18-hole golf course and start putting homes in that vacant property to be. That would be much further, and the big one is the companies that own polluted property and are not producing anything and just sitting on it. My whole life, I've seen too much land over there that's just sitting vacant. There's got to be a reason for it. And I think the city should map that property out, find out what's wrong with it, spend our money there instead of wasting our money with the county government. They are never going to approve an expansion of our garbage hill. Woodhaven doesn't want it. They asked you guys, why aren't you talking to Woodhaven? Brownstown, definitely no, you're not building an exit road from your garbage hill to our property. That's never going to change, okay? Trenton's already passed resolutions opposing it, okay? And I was at that meeting and the council asked you, well, did you take a survey or a vote? Yeah, you guys did. You had a yes or no thing and you sent it to everybody in
Can you
Riverview.
wrap it up? Well, you're at the 5-minute mark. Wrap it up.
Okay, I'm going to wrap it up. But you couldn't answer the question the county asked you. What was the vote within the half a mile of that area? That would be more meaningful. We gotta figure this out. If we need new people, new government in this, sitting in these chairs, then we'll have to do that too. Thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, oh.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Linda Podolsky, 18221 Fox Glen Drive. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for your quick response to patch the roads by the Glens. I called you one day, drove home from work, and you were right there. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. As a nurse, I've heard something that really bothered me, and I'm going to bring this up. I hope it's not true. As a nurse, I have no opposition to medical marijuana. I really don't. Recreational marijuana use in the city of Riverview is another question. We're not in a remote area near the Arctic Circle. We have marijuana dispensaries in every city around us. The main issue is your proposal to have recreational marijuana going to be on the ballot for the citizens to vote on. I know there are council people that want this, but do the voters want it? Not some, not a fan club or ilk. Do all the voters want this? I've heard that Slip Mahoney's bar has been sold. A new investor is investing a large amount of cash into this building for a recreational marijuana dispensary with no ordinance in place. I hope an ordinance underlying business deals, under the table contracts with certain council people is being done underhanded without the voters' consent. As far as transparency, why would a business owner put in millions of dollars into a business with no approval from the voters? I guess I just can't understand why the push to support recreational marijuana in such a small city. I hope no one on the council is going to benefit monetarily from it. The business tax that we generate will not come close to the landfill. The business, I've heard, is relying on the fact that an ordinance will be in place regardless of the voters. That has been promised to them. Other cities have put it on the ballot, but if oral contracts have been promised without the voters, it may be legal, but it's not moral and it's not ethical. April Bogansky said a long time ago, you work for us. You listen to all of us. Recently, supply has actually outgrown demand. The growers make a profit, not the sellers. And Circle K wants to start selling marijuana nationwide. So we are a small city. Recreational dispensaries will probably soon be everywhere in a residential area, a school, or a business, which they don't want. Transparency. If the council promotes transparency, why is the superintendent of schools and the police chief ignored with their concerns about recreational, not medical marijuana? This is a democracy. Let the voters vote on this. River Rouge has 7, and now there's one more pending, 8 marijuana dispensaries, recreational. I still don't see luxury homes or condos on their riverfront. Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Seeing none? Oh. Sorry about that.
I didn't know you guys were taking public comment on that yet. Is somebody's glasses left up here? Anyway, good evening, council. What? You're not, right? Oh, okay, she just got up ahead of time, started talking about, no problem, I'll wait then. Thank you.
Oh. They can say whatever that is. It's public comment.
No, I was answering his question.
Oh, yeah, we have there's another meeting after this. Okay, all right. Now, is there anybody else? Okay, seeing none. We have no organizational business. We have no consent agenda. We have no resolutions, no administration, no ordinances. Is there any other business council wants to bring up at this time?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Norton.
I would like to make a motion because of Monday's hearing from the Facility Inclusion Committee from Wayne County to just remove the recycling altogether. Let's put that to bed. No curbside, no second location. We have, I was talking to our interim city manager today. We have easy access to our location at the landfill. Right now, we as council need to be chipping away at 10 mills as quickly as possible. So with the grant to the DNR, if we could just make a motion to contact them and say that we've changed direction. I mean, I'd like input from my colleagues, but right now I'm trying to find extra revenue and cost-saving measures while still keeping all the employees that we need here. I think that's a no-brainer to let's just cross that one.
I think that's a great idea, but I would just suggest that we wait for the interim city manager to come up with his list of items that we choose to not do, to say, and I'm sure this is going to be right at the top of the list. So I would rather have at least some discussion after his recommendation, but I think we all agree that that is the direction we are going. All those items, there's a cost to all of those, and we really need to start addressing all the issues with our expenses, and clearly looking for additional revenue sources.
Your Honor.
Councilman Workman.
Through your chair to Councilmember Norton, you bring that up again, I'll support it.
All right.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, through
Yes,
your
sir.
chair to interim city manager Dobek, do we have a window where if these totes are purchased or the DNR grants or approves our grant, are we on the hook for all of that?
Your Honor, I'm going to ask Dave Skirdo. I kind of came to the table late with this. I know the prior city manager was working with Dave's office on the grants. So, Dave, is there a window that Councilman Norton is asking on accepting?
The city's never formally accepted any grant yet. So I'd have to reach out to Eagle, is the group I'd reach out to, and also the Recycling Partnership in Knoxville, Tennessee, I'd have to reach out to.
Yeah, from what I remember with the discussions with the former city manager, and I think right when you got on board, Jeff, there was some paperwork held up at the DNR at the state level. So that paperwork needed to be completed before they gave us the official offer. Our concern was that we didn't want to have to accept the money, then return it. This way, we just won't accept it.
Right, I'm just going on what I remember hearing Monday, that the totes were already ordered and they're in a warehouse.
Right, go ahead.
Yeah, through your honor, I believe the West Michigan company had excess totes that were in their facility. We didn't officially put a purchase order in and order them. Is that correct, Dave?
There's actually two sets of totes. One came out of the 2020 grant, which were handheld 14-gallon totes. Tetra Tech was working with that. I don't believe they ever ordered any. I'd have to check with the finance director. And then the latest grant for 2022 was a 96-gallon roll-offs. And I know we did go out for bid. We never awarded a bid for those.
Right. Yeah, there was two sets of totes. They said the 96-gallon and the small ones that were going to be used for the second off-site, the carryable type of totes.
Okay, can I ask one more question through your
You
chair?
can ask one or more, whatever you got.
Okay, Mr. Dobek, by us making a motion today, would that mess you and your team up? Or would that free you guys up for other things?
Your Honor, through your chair, I think that it was discussed earlier tonight, or mentioned, not discussed, that there will be a list of different items that'll be on our list that we have to review and agree upon. As I think the mayor said earlier, it's kind of a no-brainer because this is an additional cost that we currently don't have. So I think that won't mess us up at all. I'm confident that we're not going to have to receive those grant monies, and therefore we don't have to do that. So
Do we know the 1.74 mils, how much of that, I know on the tax, on the residents' taxes, it calls out rubbish collection. How much of that 1.74 mils is for recycling? Isn't it like .32 or something?
I think the 1.47 mils was the fire mill, the 1.47. I believe that was the fire millage.
74? 1.74 then.
1.74.
Sorry. That's that dyslexia slide.
Yeah, I think, I know the 1.47 is about $550,000, so
Okay.
let's do the math. It'd be a little bit more than that. It'd be like 700,000 or so.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. But I don't have that number with me.
I-
I'll confirm that with the Budget and Finance Director for you.
All right, thank you.
Your Honor,
Councilman Robbins.
just real quick, if as interim city manager Delbeck said, this isn't going to mess us up any way, shape, or form, and we're all pretty much here, should we just clear the plate now? Well, what is it that needs to
I would suggest
occur?
not doing it. I would suggest we do it in one fell swoop. Give us some time to discuss it amongst each other, because there may be other things we want to not do, but I just think, I'm just uncomfortable doing it on a whim. I think we have to sit and have some discussion at it, at the very next study session, just so we're all on the same page of, because there's going to be an impact one way or another. I would just suggest that we wait.
All right, that's understood. Just trying to get the plate clear because we got a lot of work ahead of us.
Your Honor, and just for the record, any of these grant monies or documents would come through Dave Skirdo's office, and they would have to be approved by you. So there was no way, shape, or form could they be approved without the vote of council for those, to accept those grant application and grant monies.
Any other business? All right, 14.1, I recess into closed session for the purpose of discussing the interim city manager's performance evaluation and attorney opinion on another city matter. What's council's pleasure?
So moved. Support.
Motion by Councilwoman Ganaga, supported by Councilwoman O'Neill. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Norton?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Councilmember Robbins?
Yes.
Mayor Swift?
Yes.
Councilmember Workman?
Yes.
Councilmember Blanchett?
Yes.
Councilmember Ganaga?
Yes.
Let the record show that we recessed at 7:38, and that means we will be back. Let the record show that the Riverview City Council has reconvened at 8:30. Will the clerk please take roll?
Councilmember O'Neill.
Here.
Councilmember Robbins.
Here.
Mayor Swift.
Here.
Councilmember Workman.
Here.
Councilmember Blanchett.
Here.
Councilmember Ganaga.
Here.
Councilmember Norton.
Here.
City Attorney Pentock.
Your Honor, may I recommend a motion to authorize and direct the mayor and city clerk to execute an employment agreement with Jeff Dolbeck as city manager on the terms and conditions discussed in closed session this evening as drafted by the city attorney.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Councilwoman Ganaga, supported by Councilwoman Blanchett. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Robbins.
Yes.
Mayor Swift.
Yes.
Councilmember Workman.
Yes.
Councilmember Blanchett.
Yes.
Councilmember Ganaga.
Yes.
Councilmember Norton.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Yes.
At this point, I would look for a motion to adjourn by Councilwoman Blanchett.
So moved, Your Honor.
Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Councilman Norton. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mayor Swift.
Yes.
Councilmember Workman.
Yes.
Councilmember Blanchett.
Yes.
Councilmember Ganaga.
Yes.
Councilmember Norton.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Yes.
Councilmember Robbins.
Yes.
Let the record show that we adjourned at 8:31. Thank you. And we will be moving across the call for the study session for the cannabis discussion. Obviously, the first item and only item is the discussion of proposed ordinance to allow cannabis businesses in the city of Riverview, and the ad hoc marijuana business committee. Before we get started, I would like to thank the members of the committee. We've met several times since the end of May to get us to this point. And I have had not a lot of discussion, but some discussion with Councilman Norton and Councilwoman Ganaga, on what their opinion of the ordinance itself. So it was, and both of them, I think, pretty reflective, had the same opinion. But I do think we do have a unique perspective that Councilman Robbins can provide us. I mean, I do believe that you attend most, if not all, the meetings as a council person, obviously not participating because...
No, as a resident.
As a resident. So, and in the past, you have mentioned about issues with ordinances and new ordinances. So is there anything in this one that you would have issue or problem with or concerns you in any way, shape, or form?
So when I was reading through it, I like the time that was clearly put into it by all 10, I believe, people that worked on this for an extensive amount of time. They looked all over the state, different people, what they liked, about certain ones, what they didn't like. And this one, they took one of the most strict and essentially tailored it to Riverview, and it's even stricter in my opinion. And I think that bodes well for our little city. You know, if this is the direction that we're gonna lean, gotta maintain it, it's gotta stay tight, it's gotta be Riverview, you know, home, small town feel. So I was very, very pleased with what I saw, just personally.
Okay. So I'll just add to that, because it looks like obviously we got to this, was a very long ordinance out of it. Just a question for the committee itself. At what point in the discussions did you decide towards putting a ordinance together as opposed to giving a recommendation to the council to opt in or out?
You take that one.
Your Honor, as we were going through, we kept getting the same questions over and over again. Well, if it was this, then this. Well, what about this or that? So we found, as we were going through the committee process, we actually found the ordinance was making itself. As we were asking questions and finding those answers, it became the ordinance. As we were speaking, it just naturally, organically flowed. And it came together, and then our Mike or whoever was there representing for the day would give us our legal questions, and then we would answer those as a team after we'd done research. It was back and forth, and then it was almost every 2 weeks. We were just meeting, getting research done, and the ordinance was just answers to all the questions that were presented.
So you just basically cemented everything in one place, you have something to make reference to.
Sure, it was a little more technical and difficult than that, but pretty close. You just kind of put it all together.
Piggyback off of what Council Member Ganaga said. First of all, I'd like to thank the 10 committee members that were on the committee. That was our school superintendent, JJ, helping with this.
Hetzel.
Council Member O'Neill, Council Member Ganaga, Chief Allen, we can now say City Manager Dobek, Dave Skirta from the Community Developing, Mike Hurley from the law firm, George, I'm sorry, I can't remember, Brown, and Ray Lemons, who's a resident and also on the Planning Commission. I am very proud of the fact that all 10 of us worked great together. It's the first time that I can remember that a committee, an ad hoc committee, meaning, the word ad hoc meaning solve the problem and dissolve. We met every month, twice a month. I know it put a lot on Mike and Dave because they only had 14 days to do what they needed to do before we met again. But we felt that it was very important that we listened to everybody. That's why we wanted the school superintendent on the committee. We wanted the police chief. I heard a comment earlier today from the audience about why don't we listen to the police chief and the school superintendent? They were both on the committee. We listened to them. We asked the chief his input. when we formed this ordinance, I'll be honest with the audience, we took that ordinance from Westland because in our opinion, we felt that was the best ordinance that we had available, and we built on top of that. With that being said, once we all proofread, looked at the ordinance that Mike Hurley generated for us, we were happy with it. We did what, I don't know of any other city that has done this, but we put a 300-foot buffer from residential. So you cannot have a provisioning center, that's the legal term they use now instead of dispensaries. You cannot have a provisioning center 300 feet from any residential dwellings. So it's not, that wipes out all of the east side of Fort Street. So this map really is, there's only small sections where you're allowed to have it.
We received 2 maps, I think, in the background. One was 500 and one was 300.
Well,
Those were from the beginning of
the beginning of the thing, we went
So-
5, and then we looked at what it looked like, and then we went 3. The
So
one,
you went from 5 to 3.
right, and the one thing that Superintendent, help me out with his last name.
Hatzel.
Hatzel was very adamant about is he did not want kids going down Kraus or Corey passing provisioning center.
That was a bus route.
Right, it's a bus route. We have a lot of school of choice kids from North Trenton that go to Riverview. We understood his concerns, we agreed with his concerns. So when you look at this map, the people around this table, you have a section basically roughly, don't hold me to this, south of Williamsburg to just before Leo's. And then on King Road, you have a few areas, and then obviously the city owns all that property on Allen Road, you have that area there. Am I right, Mr. City Manager? I did hear a comment earlier today that there's 3 of us on council that are on the committee. I can only speak for myself. I have not talked and made any deals with anybody. I haven't promised anyone anything. This body makes those decisions. Our job was to come up with a recommendation to council. It closed out our committee 8-2. 8 people were for this to go to the council.
Can I just ask for some clarification on that? 8 to 2 sounds pretty good. So, but the motion was to recommend the ordinance to council, not did they think that we should have the ordinance?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
because there's a distinction in my
Right, right.
May I speak to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I did want to clarify that point. The committee's job was to propose the ordinance to city council, not, yes, we should put these, that's not the committee's job to make that decision.
But yeah, I
The committee's
will
job
say, because I did pull it out,
is-
it actually says the committee's job was to, now, I'll say the ordinance was, I'll call it a bonus, but the committee's function was to basically get input from all these different groups of people, including the Guidance Center and Wilma Hospital, and all the industry experts, which all provided their testimony.
Right.
But what I was anticipating was to get a recommendation from the committee, should we opt, because obviously we have to opt in to do this. So, and then we could, work on the ordinance from there. But you've done the ordinance work already, I get it, so, but it wasn't originally tasked with that, but that's what came out of it.
Yeah.
Right. And
We
my,
wanted control. That was the main thing, is that a lot of our journeys through the process, as we were speaking with residents, getting emails, talking to anyone and everyone who wanted to speak with us, it was, if you don't get one, we're gonna start a petition. And then it would be out of the city's hands. We would lose control on where they go, how many, different things. And speaking to other cities that have had that happen to them, they wish they had had something in place beforehand to limit where they go, to limit where they're allowed, and us being able to talk to superintendent, chief of police, get their opinions and get buffers, and limit the number that if passed, or if the ordinance were in place, it would keep everything to a minimal amount and more away from residential, schools, churches, things like that.
yeah, and that's the one thing that Councilmember Ganaga constantly would remind us in this committee, that no matter what the council body decides, the residents can go with a very few signatures and go get a petition, and then it's out of our hands.
So let's follow up on that. Would that require, Randy, if it's citizen-driven, it would still require an ordinance, correct?
Mike's done a deeper dive into the ordinance that the petition for the ballot could present, and there is a concern that once that's adopted, then what is it, like 2 or 3 years before?
You're stuck with it for 2 years.
2 years.
So, and we've seen this in other communities. There was a drive by somebody that had a lot of money, and they put different petitions in different cities. And some of them were plain and simple, and others were much more complex about, they were going to change the charter, the city's charters, to require a marijuana department and require the city to hire people and to do inspections and stuff like that, you know, at great expense to cities. Fortunately, Riverview was not faced with that. That never got on the ballot. Riverview's never had this on the ballot yet. But other cities have, other cities downriver have. And I believe Taylor just passed one.
They did.
And we were able to fight to keep it off other cities in this area. So, but this is a problem. If somebody does come up with a petition, we lose control of how the game is going to be played, basically, and then we're at the mercy of whatever passes, whether it's a good ordinance or bad.
So then it would make sense that we get this ordinance in place and put it on the ballot and get the voters vote on it?
Well, that's one option, or the council's got the authority to just pass ordinances. I mean, the city council could pass this ordinance as is without a vote. One of the issues that came up, that did come up in discussion in the meeting, and
I have it in my notes.
It was revealed or declared that, you know, when this passed in 2018 to make recreational legal, that the city Riverview voters actually voted in favor of it also. So, you know, if you wanted to go back in front of the voters, that's an option, but I don't think it's necessary. It's up to, that's a policy decision here.
Well, I'll just say, personally, we made that mistake once, and I'm never going to make it again, with the whole landfill expansion and going to the survey and stuff, where we were told we should go to the voters. And so I got tarred and feathered by everybody I know on the face of the earth, because we did this, the landfill expansion and the millage increase. We took that on our own to do it. Personally, I'm not making that mistake again. I think this is something that should go to the voters.
Mr. Mayor, can
Yes,
I
sir.
address that too? Being one of the people before I was on council in October of 2019, standing at the podium as a resident, asking council to put the landfill on the ballot, I understand where you're coming from with that. We didn't do that. We did a survey. We didn't put the recycling on the ballot. I had Cindy Hutchinson, our city clerk, pull the 2018 Proposal 18 in 2018. It passed by 625 yes votes. I understand where you're coming at, but we would have to wait until November unless we had a special election. And I think the majority of council is tired of spending money. I understand where you're coming from, but I think this ordinance and this map is a very good thing for this city. And one of the things that's in this ordinance is you already have to be an established cannabis business in in the state of Michigan. You can't come from Colorado to Michigan and try your luck in Riverview. You already have to be established. The calls that I was anti-cannabis in 2019, is that when we got, and when I started working with council member O'Neill, she ran on pro-cannabis, and then as I did 3 years of research on this, I think besides going to the UP, no, I take that back, one in UP, I've been to almost every dispensary in the state, okay? You guys all that are my colleagues, you already know what I do as a chaplain. I've seen the good side. You know, I hear a lot of residents have been vocal, but how many did we have? 4?
Phone calls, emails?
Phone calls or emails?
4.
4 total?
Yeah.
Okay? I've had a lot of people say, would you please do this? I'm tired of driving to Rouge. I don't like going to River Rouge. I'm tired of driving to Monroe. So,
Delivered here anyways.
right, you can have it delivered here. The biggest complaint that I've had in 3 years is residents calling me complaining about their neighbors growing cannabis in their basement and it stinks. This is going to kind of remove them for having any monetary benefits of doing that.
Why grow it when you can just
I
buy
think
it?
a little bit of the conversation too was back to yours, Mayor, is that it was already voted on. I mean, it was already voted on by the city back in, it was 2018, is that what
18,
it was? And we had the numbers already, so I guess that's probably a lot of why we moved forward. We did talk to the police chief, and a lot of it had to do with, you know, the vote was there already. So.
Right. Well, and I agree with what was there, obviously, we did approve it. But I can't get past all these arguments when we were talking about doing the millage and the landfill expansion, all the arguments were flipped. So that's where my struggle is. But even a bigger else that's called issue or problem I have is, and being as mayor, I guess I was the last one to hear that Slip Mahoney's is going to be our new dispensary. It's all over Facebook, and I know it's Facebook, but and then you start doing your homework and stuff. So what I'm trying to say is that's the part that concerns me, because I don't know who purchased it or what the deal is, but why would somebody make that big of a commitment when we don't even have an ordinance in place yet?
Let me follow up with you on that.
We all learned on Facebook.
I've been told, and I have no proof, but just like with the slip things, that the property between Burger King and Leo's has been bought. Don't know if that's true or not. I've been told that there's a parcel on King Road that has been purchased. I've been told that the insurance agent next to Midwest Truck has been purchased by somebody that wants to, okay, well, first of all, that one makes no sense, because I went there on Saturday, they have 5 parking spots. Makes no sense to me. So I know what you're saying, but what I can tell you from the people that have reached out to the 3 of us on the council that's on this committee, I've been contacted by a real estate broker from Grand Rapids wanting to know, and I'm like, go to the website, our city website, you know, our meetings are open, you
So
can attend.
I think you're making my point is, obviously there's, and obviously everybody's in this for the money. We need a new revenue stream. But I just want to make sure that we do it right. And I think that way is if we put it back in the hands of the voters, then, you know, we have our marching orders and we move forward. And then I'm just looking at, well, we can get it, I'm sure we're going to go through the ordinance that we're going to do at some point, go section by section, because there is some questions there, just I need some little bit of clarification. So, I do understand we couldn't physically limit, is that correct, the number of dispensaries?
Those get more lawsuits if you put a cap number on it.
Okay,
as
so
they say.
we went, I think the
By
better
zoning.
route was to define where they can't be.
Right, and at any time, we can have a special council meeting, because Mr. Dobek says, hey, we have 5 applications, and we can put, help me out with the legal term, moratorium on the licensing. Correct?
But once you have an ordinance in place, that makes it harder.
But we can amend any ordinance.
Yes.
So we can say, hey, we're putting the brakes on this, we have enough. Because the way this is written, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, you can't apply unless you have a location.
You have to identify the location.
Right. I think that's why what you're talking about, Mr. Mayor, and what I'm getting calls on, hey, I heard, you know, this place, well, that's news to me. I didn't even know.
So this is, and I'm glad we're having this conversation, that's why we had to have this meeting, is because the feedback I got was originally there was the 500-foot buffer, and I get that, and I looked at the map, and it's okay, I see what it is. And then at some point in time, the buffer was changed. And I just, to be honest, I don't know if that coincided with the purchase or whatever, how that went with Slip Mahoney.
I don't know when.
It's just the stuff.
I don't know when.
The feedback I'm getting is those types of things. So I want, if it's all above board, and that's what this meeting is for, get the discussion out, and then we can
People were
move forward
at
from
those
there.
meetings and they heard our conversations. Oh, the 500 cuts out too much space. That's why we changed it to 300, because with the 500-foot buffer, it cut out too many properties with good retail space that buyers would want if you were gonna put a business in.
We had a very big conversation about Fourth Street, getting
And
rid
it
of
went
all of
on
Fourth
and
Street.
on, and we talked it over this way, that way, and another. And the 300-foot buffer is what everyone on the committee voted for when we were presented the two options.
It was never
When
5
something
switched to
purchased-
3.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
no, it was
okay.
never decided until we were handed both. Do you want 500? Do you want 300? We talked it all out, and we decided 300 was better.
And
for
we
the
actually
committee.
came back 2 weeks later because we gave everybody on the committee
We had
10
plenty
10
of time.
days, or 2 weeks, to think about 500 or 300 and drove around the
So
city.
if somebody went and took the information that they heard, I don't know when the property was purchased. I would have no idea of
So I
that.
do have a question for Dave is, with, now, reading through the ordinance, obviously got the 300-foot buffer. Is it also 300 feet or more between dispensaries?
Yes.
So with that, and knowing this, if this is such a good deal and all these lots and buildings are being sold, how many could we potentially end up with on 4th Street?
Two?
I think,
Maybe
I
3?
think 2, possibly 3, if somehow
That
someone
would be-
bookended the far end,
Depending.
possibly 3, but 2, I think is more realistic.
Okay.
And on King, with the buffer, you could get really no more than
Yeah, probably
1.
1.
Dean, Lynn, David, anybody?
I personally, Your Honor, just from sitting and watching and listening and learning and absorbing everything that they went over, I don't partake myself, so that this isn't a decision based on, yeah, man, whatever, you know, or just, for me, it's strictly, me and Councilman Workman discussed this the other day. For me and my feeling on this is strictly financial. We just lost the landfill expansion.
Well, it shouldn't be because there's an impact to the community.
Absolutely, and we've met with the chief, and he's gave his input. I didn't meet with him, but they did. And they've done a lot of work. I've done my own private little thing about it, and essentially, I'm at the point where the Headley was 1.74. We know you mentioned the expansion and how you don't want to do that again because it doesn't go. The time is now. Like, it's already gone up. We know we have a strict direction now where we're going. We are not going to be expanding our landfill. So it's time to get to work. Some people are gonna say, oh yeah, PUT's just gonna save the day. That would be asinine. Of course, provisioning centers are not going to increase that. That's a start. So before we go to our next little tax jump, at least they've put in time, there's some sort of effort, and like I said, we're just discussing it, so that's why I'm leaning strictly on the fact that gotta make up revenue, and I see vans by my house all the time, dropping it off, pulling in the driveways, and to be honest, I think they're tacky looking myself. It's very broadcastable. I think there's something in there, if I'm not mistaken, that there is gonna be some sort of, oh, what's that?
Drive-through.
Oh,
No.
like,
No,
a fact
just a
that's not
pickup.
going to be very advertised.
No, well,
Right.
right, because here's the thing, the way that we crafted this ordinance, if you didn't know that was a building that sells cannabis, you drive right by it. It's not, you're not allowed to have neon marijuana leaves, you can't have a big Bob Marley on the ceiling waving its hands. You would have, somebody would have to tell you that building is a provisioning center for cannabis. Because other than that, you wouldn't know.
I don't think you could go through too many more efforts than all of you did to make sure that it stays as clean as possible, so to speak. So I'm in full support of it already. I just know we gotta make money.
Okay,
and that's
and I
it.
get that, and then I'll just ask, because obviously you received input from several input places. What was the input you got from JJ? And obviously he had issues with areas.
Yes.
Did he give you his opinion on the whole, should cannabis even be allowed as opposed to the ordinance itself?
correct me if I'm wrong, JJ's statements were, because of my job, I cannot vote yes on this.
And what type of input did you get from the guidance center and the, or whatever the healthcare people that we talked to?
Susan, you want to take that? Aaron?
No.
Okay. The guidance center was concerned about people leaving cannabis out in front of kids. Help me out here. What else? Things that
They were worried
this
about
ordinance
access
wouldn't
for kids.
address anyways, because if the parent has it delivered and they don't put it in a locked box, like the responsible, you can't make laws over ignorance, you know? So that's basically what the guidance center is.
My
Anything else?
recollection was, is they were generally against it.
Yes.
Because it's gonna lead to bad things, and that they didn't know why anybody would welcome this into their community, basically, straight out.
And I'll just, Chief, you want to give your 2 cents? It's up to you.
I just take it as a business. It's regulated by the state, and my position is I would regulate it just like we do a bar, so that was my stance on it. As long as it's regulated, we can regulate it.
And the ordinance requires that you do checks on them and make sure that everything's above the bar.
The ordinance addresses, because the state does it, addresses how you have to have security, how you have to have cameras, they have to be accessible to us, and how long you have to store the data, stuff like that.
That's the other thing too, I think, is that in addition to whatever the police are gonna do here, all this is regulated by the state. And there's
More so than a liquor control.
administrative rules up the wazoo about all the things you can and can't do. So, in essence, this should not be that hard of an enforcement for the police department, and, you know, I think.
Well, and to your point is, and the question is, because even I saw in the ordinance, it even addresses, there's annual fees that we got, administration fees, and a big chunk was for administration and enforcement. So even, I think the ordinance itself addresses, there may be enforcement issues. So we're getting money, from the dispensaries to finance those enforcement issues.
Chief?
Having the chief, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, do you have more issues with cannabis or alcohol in general?
I'd have to look up the stats, but just based off my career, it's been alcohol, but it's not fair to marijuana, because marijuana's been illegal for so many parts of my.
But in general?
In general, I've had more issues with people drinking and.
I don't think you're getting domestic calls for people that are intoxicated.
Well, it's also easier to tell if somebody's been drinking, though, as opposed to smoking marijuana. Obviously, you can smell it sometimes, but obviously, there's gummies and stuff like that, so.
Right.
Your Honor, may I ask the chief a question?
Go right ahead.
Since one of our local businesses closed here recently, and if you don't want to answer this, that's fine. Have you seen an uptick in calls during, let's say, certain hours that you normally say if you were, are you more busy, less busy, or is it about the same since, let's just call it what it is, Slips is closed?
Well, I'd have to research that to see that
Oh,
zone. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, I was just curious, because these are closed by, what time is it, 9
I think in the ordinance it says 9 p.m.
I believe that's what it said.
They have to be closed. They can't be 24-hour operations,
No drive-through?
no drive-throughs, have to be 21. You can't say you're 21, they swipe your ID. That's all state regulated. The state follows cannabis from seed to stem. You can't put your,
From seed to sale.
from seed to sale, yeah. What did I say?
Seed to stem.
Right, well, see, all these, I've been living these terms for a long time. But the thing is you can't put, let's say the flower, okay? The cannabis flower. You can't put that in your sales rack until you've had it tested. And if it came back that it has spider mites, mold, pesticides, then it has to be destroyed and burned. But Bob Smith, growing in his basement, doesn't have those tests. So,
I think we all understand, I know we all did a good chunk of homework, and obviously the community did a lot more than the rest. And I don't think there's any question of the quality of the quality of the product and the use for it. It just comes down to is, do we want the dispensaries here? And again, I compliment the committee, but when it comes down to it, I think it really should be a vote of the people. Like I said, I learned my lesson big time, and I don't want to have to go through that again.
Mr. Mayor, I 100% respect your opinion. I know what you went through on the recycling and the landfill, but I disagree with your opinion because I feel that I've been living this for a long time. I feel that the majority are going to pass it like they did in Taylor, okay? You look at the numbers when it was recreation, it won by more than some of us have won our seats by. I understand your opinion, I just respectfully disagree with your
That's
opinion.
great. That's what we're here for.
Your Honor, another thing I'd like to add is the issue that I have with, I'm normally all for it, you know, obviously holding a special election is spending money somewhere to the tune of $20,000.
Yeah, I don't think that's
That is
enough.
asinine. I would not even propose that because that would be silly. So with that being said, we have to wait an additional year, if I'm not mistaken, to put it on the next ballot. $54,000 is what each store, let's just say, got this past year. That's one more year that, and like I said, it might not even pass. I don't know, but from my standpoint, I can't leave money on the table right now, knowing the things that I know, and the things that we all witnessed last Monday. There is a clock ticking on our money and our trash essentially filling up. So, I can't personally leave money on the table with tax increases have already gone up. There's residents that have seen that, we've all seen it. I think that in this case, we were elected for a reason, and sometimes you have to make tough decisions.
Those are all the reasons I gave, and I was reamed one end to the other.
Well,
So
you're
just so you
right.
understand that. Yeah.
We are in uncharted waters at this point. This is completely new. We have an end date to the landfill now. The story has changed at this point. This is go time, essentially. The clock's ticking. That's just my opinion.
Can I say one more thing, Mr.
Sure.
Mayor, and I promise
Whatever you
I'll
want.
stop after this.
Well, the vet said we'd be done by 9:45, so you got 35.
Okay. If you look at what Council Member Robbins said, you know, and the projections, there's no way with the way our map is that you're going to get more than, I'm comfortable being conservative and saying 3. But we're trying to make up 10 mils with what they have to pay in their yearly license fee of $5,000, Dave? They have to give $10,000 for community, what's the correct?
Community benefits.
Community benefits, and what they're projecting, don't hold me to that, projecting for 23, that could be 1 mil. So then we move on and we start chipping away at the other 9 mils. That's where I'm coming at from it, and I've talked enough.
And
Is there anything you want to add?
No, I was just gonna say, you know, you got Taylor already created, that passed it, they're creating their ordinance, but, I mean, you wanna get ahead of it, not behind it. Right now, there's one in Rouge and there's one in Monroe. It's a long distance, but you already started in with Taylor, and they'll just end up being more and more, so I think you'll be behind the game if you wait another year.
And just so.
Right, and plus, I'll make the point, I think Councilwoman Ganaga brought this up earlier, that there's a real good chance that this is going to be legal at the federal level
It is.
sometime pretty soon. And then at that point,
I
then
don't have much
RJ
faith
Reynolds
in
and
the
all the
feds.
big tobacco companies get in, and you go to any quick pick 7-Eleven, that they got it.
Well, we, as a city, wouldn't be out money then, if that were the case. You know,
And they're renewed annually.
Yeah, they're
So if
renewed
anything changes,
annually.
You don't renew a license.
and here's the thing that I've learned going across the state. They don't play around, because it's not, hey, you get a ticket from your ordinance department. It's, hey, the state's pulling your license. I mean, these people have put in a lot of money. I'm not gonna bore you guys with our conversations we've had individually, but I can tell you as a chaplain that does funerals for people that don't have a pastor, I'm not doing them for people overdosing on cannabis. I'm doing it for people overdosing on opioids. Okay, that's the people that are dying, and we want to give tax breaks to pharmaceutical companies. I'm all for that. It brings in jobs. But, you know, you look at it, and here's the thing, Mr. Mayor, I totally respect what you said about how you did get beat up on that. I personally am out for re-election. I will stand there when go for re-election, and if the residents hate it, you guys will have a new council member because they won't re-elect them.
And I just want to say one thing to that is, we had meetings every 2 weeks. They were public, and I can tell you, I received phone calls, emails, and, you know, we saw so many people in the audience. The majority of phone calls, emails, overwhelmingly were in favor. Now, people maybe know their audience and knew that I was on the committee and was researching it and forming my opinion and wanted to reach out. You maybe are getting the phone calls from those
They've had
on
a
the other
discussion with
side.
you and Councilman Norton. Clearly, we live in two different worlds, because the majority of the people I talk to are not in support of it. I'll be honest, I'm neutral on this, but
I'm neutral.
I'm really in favor of the residents voting on it. I don't have an opinion. If they're here, they're here, I'm gonna support them. If they're not, then they're not. But, I mean, for me, it all comes down to the voters voting on it. And obviously, you know, whatever the recommendation of this committee is to bring to the council, if it's forward to bring it forward, then, you know, I'll live with it. But that's just something that I'm gonna stand firm on. I think this is something the residents should vote on.
For me, it's all about the control. I don't want, with 3 young kids, I don't want them being able to write their own.
If you get to the point where we are, if somebody else draws one up, you know, we're ahead of the game. We got ours already. They'd be on the same ballot.
And then who wants to come, because they've already put one up next door.
If somebody else draws
in
up another
trend,
one,
and-
if somebody else draws up another ordinance of their own, and there's 2 on there, is that possible?
Yeah, I've seen it in other cities.
So one by the municipality, one by some special interest.
And the
group.
more proposals you
But the
put
whole-
on a
but-
ballot-
But the point is, you know, they wouldn't have any, I mean, neither of them, well, I guess ours could be implemented first, but that would not stop a voter-approved one later?
You mean,
See, if we adopt this on our own, not going to the voters, and somebody else doesn't like it's too restrictive or whatever, they want to make it more or less lucrative to the businesses, could another
suppose
electorate?
theoretically they could, but it'd be a hard road to hoe, I think. Once ours is in place.
Is there a charter provision for people to do that on anything?
Yeah.
You could make a petition to.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Theoretically, they could,
Yeah.
but
Lynn?
Chief, you'd indicated just a little bit ago that it's easy to spot when someone's been drinking and driving, or just drinking and walking, or whatever. How do you determine, is there going to be any type of training, or how do you determine if this thing passes, the cannabis? How do you look for it?
I don't know if there's a law to say that somebody's over intoxicated, let's say that word, on cannabis. I don't know.
The ER does do blood tests. You can,
There's no test.
Yeah, because didn't Michigan State Police have to pull their test because it wasn't accurate?
I recently just got a letter last week that they've taken care of that issue.
Okay.
So,
Because there is a mouth swab, correct?
you know, I don't know how I think that it was the blood that was getting tested, and somehow their chemical was reacting in a way to make CBD in somebody's body turn into THC.
Gotcha.
so they're still working on it.
So that's been
It's a work in
rectified?
progress for.
But yeah, there's a way to, if I pulled somebody over and they were driving erratic and I could prove that they were impaired, I'd get their blood, and the blood would show how much. Is there a level, Mike, on the T? I haven't worked the road in a long time.
When you get,
Yeah,
when they draw blood, they look at nanograms. You know, if somebody has a lot of nanograms, then it indicates that it's fresher in their system. If you might smoke marijuana, but, you know, you don't drive, you haven't used it in a week, well, it'll still show up in your blood. You know, it'll show up for like a month later. So I do the prosecutions in some of the cities, and when I get blood results back on marijuana, THC, it depends on the level of nanograms. That's kind of the rule of thumb that I use. If it's a lower number, then it's probably more distant from when they drove. But if it's a high number, then, you know, there's more likelihood that they were under the influence at the time they were actually driving. But in fairness, it's the Wild West right now, because we don't have a breathalyzer, we don't have a data master like the police use for alcohol. This is just a lot of it's.
And pills.
Yeah.
It's hard to enforce.
But
Now
none of
that it's
this,
legal.
none of this stuff changes if we have a dispensary or not.
Correct.
And this is all just incident.
Right. No, I'm saying.
It's still legal at the state level, so it's
Right.
not gonna matter.
And what Councilmember Blanchett was saying, that was one of my concerns. And, you know, if you were to, you can't do it because of HIPAA, but if you were to have people raise their hand, who here is prescribed antidepressant, boom, hands go up all over the place. It's like, it's cool to take Xanax, you know, but that's just a personal thing, okay? So I guess everybody on the committee that's sitting around the table, is there anything you wanted to add?
Not really.
Well, I'll say this, you can take prescription medication, but you can't take too much of it.
Oh, yes, you can. I do funerals for people that take too much.
Yeah, but you can't, okay, they can take too much of it, but you can't operate a vehicle if you've ingested too much. So you could get prosecuted for taking too much
prosecution,
Xanax.
yes.
Right. So, or any prescription medication, it doesn't have to be illegal drug or anything like that. It's, if you're under the influence, and to answer maybe Councilwoman Blanchett's question, and I've had this happen, you know, I mean, you could try cases without data master results. You can try cases. We've been enforcing operating or driving under the influence for, 80, 90 years, well before there were any sort of tests for this sort of thing. And it's just the old-fashioned way. The officer testifies, this person appeared to be intoxicated. Unfortunately, the jurors are a lot more sophisticated. All they want to know is what the data master result is, 9 times out of 10. But you could still do it the old-fashioned way. You could try a case without actual numbers. So it doesn't happen very often, but it's possible.
And by following the state law, if you were to walk out of a provisioning center with a product from there, the legal way is you're supposed to put it in the back of your vehicle. The bag has to be stapled. Not saying that happens 100% of the time, but it's
Sealed and
not.
out of reach.
Pardon me?
Sealed and out of reach.
Sealed and out of
Doesn't have to be
reach.
stapled
Right.
somewhere.
It's not like when I stopped to buy my six-pack and set it in the driver's seat. Okay.
Thanks. Anybody else want to add anything? Dean? Lynn?
I just want to say real quick, and then I'll be done, I promise. I've talked to, I know, I lied already once too, so I'm a politician. So, I just want to say, I have the utmost respect for the people around this table and everyone's opinions, and I know Council Workman and I speak on quite a regular basis. We've talked about your position, and your position could change. This isn't a vote. I just want you to know that I respect it. I get it. Doing what you do for as many years as you did, I understand. The rest of us, if we have ideas, they gotta come out. So bring them on, because we gotta make some money, and this seems like it's locked and loaded, for lack of a better term. There's other things too, but it's gonna take a lot more than just this. We gotta combat at least 10 mils on the taxes. We're all gonna hurt. So again, that's where I'm at. Strictly financial, strictly tax-based for me.
Any other input?
Your Honor, one thing. Goes down to 4 votes. As I hear it, there are 4 votes. I don't know why we're going through this. I don't know why you want to go to an election and spend the money, go through that nightmare all over again. It's 4 votes. It appears that's what's going to happen. Let's cut through the chase. Let's move on. We got things to do.
Okey-doke. So I'm assuming the consensus, I don't know what the recommendation's gonna be. I'm assuming it would be to put it on the next council meeting?
Yes.
Okay, I don't support that. I don't know about Councilwoman Blanchett, Councilman Workman.
What, to put it on the next one?
Right.
No, I'm but we got 4 votes.
Okay, and I'm assuming the rest are
Yes.
Yes, sir.
information.
Sooner the better, we gotta make the money.
Okay.
Sooner the better.
So you are going, I'll save that for the council meeting. All right. Any other business council wants to bring up at this time?
No, sir.
All right, now is the time for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the mayor and council? Well, you know what the whole routine is. Got 5
We've
minutes.
been doing it all night.
So before you start public comment, just, I'm new to this. This is to put it for the first reading, right? Because ordinance have to have different readings.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah, I
Okay.
should remind
All right.
everybody that it takes 2 readings.
Okay, I just want to make sure I record this correctly, so.
Okay, sir, name and address.
Hi, my name is Tyler Hall. I'm from 241 Depuy Ave in Jackson, Michigan. I apologize if my voice cracks out, by the way. I've been talking the last couple days, so I'm kind of losing it. I kind of just wanted to speak a little bit. I know it's kind of a mixed bag. Cannabis is always a mixed bag when it comes down to it. But in reality, I just am someone who can never get past the benefits. And I actually have Crohn's disease. So I was a NCAA Division I track runner. I was actually running long jump, trying to go to the Olympics and do all that kind of stuff. And I found myself losing 60 pounds in 2 months. I found myself anemic and passing out in practice all the time. And it was just a really bad battle for me, essentially. I was actually medically discharged from college. And the only thing that really helped me outside of spending $1,500 a month past my insurance for 15 pills for Crohn's disease that are causing me to throw up and causing me to have, terrible bowel issues was cannabis. And it's just because cannabis as itself as a plant is kind of more beneficial than people really understand. So in the human body, we have what's called an endocannabinoid system. And so your endocannabinoid system is what really carries a lot of those cytokines through your body. It carries a lot of proteins to cell points in your bodies, right? And so if you don't have enough endocannabinoids inside your body, things happen that are very more common to us, such as arthritis. Arthritis is a joint pain problem where people have MMP9 protein cells in their body that do not have enough endocannabinoid cells that are around it to support their structure for the joints. So when there are not enough ECS cells, as we call them, around there, what happens is the MMP9 calls for more cytokines to the point which causes for inflammation and pain. And these things can't be replaced until endocannabinoids are created in your body, and we create them very small, in very, very small increments, honestly. When it comes down to the cannabis plant, though, it creates cannabinoids, and it's funny that they are exactly the same thing. Humans just kind of have a dulled down version. That's why we call them endocannabinoids. So you can actually help yourself in points where you have, such as joint pain, arthritic pain. I mean, I even did an entire study on endometriosis for women, and it shows that introducing cannabinoids to your body can actually stop all of that pain because you're introducing more cannabinoid cells to those points and releasing those cytokines to it. So when you look at benefits like that, and I look at it for my Crohn's disease, there are certain things that have to help me, and there are breakdowns to cannabis that help with that too. It's not just about going out and buying flour, buying gummies, and trying to get high and trying to just have a great time. It's really about helping yourself. I mean, my 2 options when I have a Crohn's flare-up are I can go to the hospital, spend $5,000 and get a steroid shot to my stomach, or I can genuinely try to do a little bit more educated shopping, try to help myself and go from there. And I can tell you, on record, this has helped me numerous occasions the last 4 years of my life.
Thank you. Anybody else? Going once? Stephanie.
I cannot help myself. I am a resident and a business owner in the city of Riverview, 17562 Smith Street resident. And I can tell you, I can tie in the medical to the concern from the general public. I am a cannabis wellness advisor. I am a health care practitioner. And I have come from the standpoint of being completely against it because I saw it as a gateway drug, because I was completely uneducated, to the point of helping people utilize it appropriately, as this young man just explained over here, because there's an entire system. So we can tune out the science if we don't understand it, but then that tunes us out to the benefit that it brings. My concern, my business being on Quarry, is the alcohol consumption, and give me some kind of evidence that proves that to be of benefit. Give me some kind of reason to show that we should have this everywhere, at family events. It was at the tree lighting event. There is no, I help people get away from their addiction from alcohol. We're surrounded by it. You want to talk about taking a bus route? It's everywhere. It's at every grocery store, everywhere. Opioids, again, on the way to the schools, it's right there. So it's a matter of how educated are we in this topic? To be fully able to give a vote or an opinion, I highly encourage you to be educated to the advantages of everything. And if we're going to talk about leaving things up to the public, when did we discuss bringing all of these liquor stores here? Because I could give you some statistics of the percentage of people, my clientele, that I am helping recover from alcohol, recover from addiction. They've been recovering from the mental turmoil they've gone through because they've lost somebody who was killed by a drunk driver. I'm not saying cannabis is the end all be all, but let's talk about the benefits of if we're going to really villainize something that is shown positive and proof positive in an area of health and general population. I highly recommend that we go for the understanding of what we're truly looking at here. Cannabis, it does have its ups and it does have its downs. I am a professional in the industry and I'm not going to be biased about it. I wrote a book on it. There's pros and cons to absolutely everything. But please, 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 with all of the access to alcohol, all of the bus routes that take a path past the liquor stores, every restaurant, every parent that can consume alcohol at dinner with their kids and then drive home, let's talk about the pros and benefits to everything, okay? It's a big problem of mine to be at a family function event and there's drunks there, okay? So that's to tie it home, let's get rid of the antiquated thought processes and actually bring to the table where are the negative consequences of utilizing cannabis. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Anybody else?
Morning, Your Honor, Council, or afternoon, good, Your Council. My name's Andrew Curtis, live at 2412 4th Street in Trenton, Michigan. I understand the fact that the opinion on what cannabis is, what it's been, it's had a very negative stigma. It was classified next to heroin at one point. We're in a day and age right now where it's almost imperative to get a hold of the situation if you can, because if you can't and you don't, we're in a world right now where kids that were born in 2000 are 22. We're in a time where cryptocurrency, NFTs, they're going to come with money and all sorts of things to the point where it's not even going to be combatant. There's 18-year-olds that are billionaires right now off of internet investments, and you're not going to be able to fight that. And to be able to have your foot on it, in a way, you're going to have your foot on its neck, and you can control it to a point of where you see fit. If you don't, and it does go to vote, you'll see that there are people who are 22 now who are well-funded and well-educated and backed by multi-billion-dollar industries, and you won't be able to compete. It's a time right now where we're only progressing in civilization, and you only have so long to be able to even put your own 2 cents in. And so I feel like right now would be a great time to be able to put your 2 cents in, have your own input, have your own established control for it before you really have 20-year-olds, 22-year-olds, and 30-year-olds that are combating with money in ways that you don't even understand yet. If you can tell me anything about NFTs, I'd be surprised. But that's what is coming. This is what's happening. This is the times that we're in right now. And if you can't combat it, or you think that if you think you have the level of it, this is a time right now where, the old is getting pushed out and the new is coming in. And the only way to be able to fight that is to take it into your own realm. Because if you don't, I can guarantee you that it will be a totally different outcome than what you'd be able to do if you used the minds that you do have at this table. You know, there's well-educated people here right now, and you won't have a chance to touch it. And you'll actually have people coming in from outside of the city, because all you have to do is be from Michigan. And I heard somebody earlier say about how River Rouge doesn't have any waterfront. Well, look at the politicians, look at everything that's going on in River Rouge. That's not Riverview. This is a well-educated community, this is great people. But I hope that you can look forward and see that if you do get your hands on it, it won't be left up to people outside of here. Detroit, Inkster, Flint, Saginaw, we'll come in. And you can touch it now. If you don't touch it now, well, that's who the people of Riverview will have to depend on, those people who don't live here and don't care about this place. Thank you.
Thank you. I will just comment, thank you for speaking, Andrew. You made reference to the new pushing out the old, and that's kind of reminded me of a point I wanted to make here is Riverview we have a huge population of senior citizens. They're the majority in this city, 62 and over. So, and I really think that they should have a say.
Of course.
But the only way that can happen is if we take it to the voters. And I suspect that that's what the concern is, that clearly we have a huge turnout of senior citizens vote out, more than, say, 22 to 25-year-olds.
Of course, they do. They do.
So, but I think we need to respect they have opinion too.
Of course.
And I get that, so, and either way, I'm
And I respect
comfortable.
that too. My
Absolutely.
grandmother's 90 years old. She just turned 90. God bless her. She still drives herself to church every Sunday.
Very good
Yeah.
for her.
But at
So-
the end of the day, it's a plant that it's literally something that's been here since the beginning of time.
Yep.
You know, if you believe in God and you think that yeah.
Yeah, to me, it's not all the technical stuff dealing with it. It just comes down to the vote of the people. I mean, I'm really impressed with the work from the attorney's office. And if you don't mind, there's just a few things I've learned over the years, the difference between the words shall and may. Where it dealt with, it says a cannabis business may be open to the public between the hours of 10 and 9. Does that mean they have to be in between that time? It says they may open earlier or stay late. Or is it, am I reading that
That's
wrong?
the earliest they can open and the latest they can stay.
Your Honor, what section are you looking at?
14678. So the cannabis business may be open to the public between the hours and list the hours. And the business may be on site to, as far as the on-site operations. Should that not be shall?
What we're doing in that section is giving permission to be open only between 10 a.m. and 9 p.m.
So it has to be between those hours?
Yes,
Correct.
Okay.
It could be less.
Yeah, but it can't be past those. That's the only question I really had on it. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Hi.
I thought we were done.
Last one, maybe. My name's Holly Ferguson. I'm a lifelong Downriver resident. You made the comment that a large portion of the city is made up of seniors. A number of those seniors use cannabis. My father's here, he's 86. He has a voice tremor. He uses cannabis. It helps him speak clearer and improves his quality of life. In the Downriver area, we're a blue-collar area. We have a number of veterans who suffer from anxiety, PTSD, depression. As a registered nurse, I can tell you many of them self-medicate with cannabis. It's safer, it's cheaper, they're comfortable with it, they've used it for years. I'd like to say that our senior population, though it is changing, may surprise you with their vote.
I would be pleasantly surprised with their vote, whatever it is.
We will see.
Thank you.
Honor.
Just so I'm sure, anybody else? Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh, we made it in 10 minutes beforehand, so thank you. Who's taking